What's up, Louis? It's Guys here. I hope you are doing great. So my last video I made was about my 400,000 Rand property investment strategy. The video did really well and I received a lot of positive comments about this video. I've received a lot of comments about people asking why I don't buy properties with cash, and I decided to make this video to explain why buying property with cash is a bad idea. Just remember, this is just my opinion and the experience that I am sharing with you guys to help you to avoid mistakes so that you can become a better investor. I'm not trying to force my strategy on you guys, so if you learn at least one thing, give this video a thumbs up, and thank you so much for everyone that has been supporting the channel. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share some pros and cons about buying property with cash, and then best of all, I'm going to show you exactly why you should not do it. I'm going to share an example with real life numbers so that you can see why it's not necessarily the best idea to buy property with cash. With that said, let's jump straight into it. So first of all, there's some advantages and then there's obviously disadvantages. Some of the pros are that there's no mortgage payment, meaning you don't have to pay the bank a monthly bond, and that can be a great feeling because you don't have this debt liability. Another advantage is that you don't pay any interest, which for some people can be a very good advantage. There's also a much faster transaction period, meaning that when you buy the property until the date of registration will be much shorter because you don't have to acquire a bond. You also have greater negotiating power. Most of the time when you mention that you can buy cash, you will be able to have a greater power for negotiation. Another thing is you save on closing cost, or you save on transfer and registration costs. There will still be a transfer cost, but there will be no registration cost because you don't have to register a bond. Another advantage is that you have ownership with no debt. This just means that you buy the property cash, so you have no debt, so it actually belongs to you. So that's basically the main pros. Obviously there's stuff that I'm missing. It's just quickly to share some of the pros with you guys, and then again some of the disadvantages. Just remember, it's impossible to cover each and every little detail in these videos, so I'm just talking about the idea broadly, just to point you guys in the right direction at least. Some of the cons of buying with cash is opportunity cost, meaning what you could have done with that cash amount should be compared to your return on investment when you buy a property cash. It's all about opportunity cost and what will this opportunity of buying property cash cost you. Another con or negative is lack of liquidity. If you invest your money in a property and you buy it cash, you don't have access to that money, and it's not really that easy to get access to it when you sell the property. Then you'll have to go through the whole sale property, and that can obviously take time compared to keeping the cash in a bank account and you can withdraw that money at any given time. Another disadvantage is the interest deduction that you can use for tax benefits. Because you don't have a bond, there's no interest portions on your bond payment, meaning you can't use that as a tax deduction. Another disadvantage is reduced diversification, meaning that if you invest all your cash, let's say you have only 500,000 Rand and you invest in a property of 500,000 Rand, you don't really have a diversified portfolio, and basically all your eggs is in one basket. That can be good in some instances, but most of the time diversification is obviously very important. Another thing is difficulty recovering cash, meaning that if you wanted to sell the property eventually, it takes quite a long time before you can actually get access to that cash. This is especially important if you are desperate and you need access to cash. And most of the time people sell out of distress, and imagine you have to sell your property because you are in a tight financial position but you can't get access to your cash. That's obviously another negative. And then there's a few other pros and cons about buying property with cash as well, but I'm not going to go into each and every one into detail. This is just to show you that it has pros but it has disadvantages as well. But I don't really care about all the nitty-gritty stuff. I want to show you guys a physical example, and this is where I feel that it makes a large difference. So I'm not trying to convince you not to buy property with cash. I'm simply going to show you why I don't do it. So if you watched the previous video, you would understand the investment that I used as an example. The property was purchased for the property was listed for 395,000 Rand. We made a purchase of 320,000 Rand. We had an equity position of 75,000 Rand. And then we used a bond to buy this property, meaning that the cost that we had to pay from our own pockets would only be around 36,000 Rand for the bond registration and the transfer cost. Dividing our yearly cash flow with our money invested, basically 10,000 Rand or 11,000 divided by 36,000 Rand gives us a return on investment of 30%. So this deal that I'm showing you here has a 30% return on investment when using leverage, or when using the bank's money, or when you use someone else's money, whatever this, wherever this money comes from. But most of the time it's from the bank. So if we bought this property cash, there's a few things that will change. First of all, there will be no bond payment. So we can type in 0 here because we don't have a bond with the bank. This changes a lot of things, meaning that our cash flow at the end of the month will be much more. But what we need to understand is that our amount invested is going to go up. Now, the money that we invested is not just for the bond and transfer, but the amount that we paid for the property, which would be 320,000 Rand plus the transfer cost of this property. The transfer will be around 23,000 Rand if we estimate this. And let me just quickly change this, meaning that the money that we invested went up from 36,000 Rand to 343,000 Rand. The advantage is that your cash flow will obviously go up as well, meaning your yearly cash flow will be much more. Now, instead of 11,000 Rand a year, you are making almost 50,000 Rand a year. But remember, we had to put down 343,000 Rand of our own money. With the previous deal, using the bank's money, our return on investment, or our cash on cash return, was 30%. When we do it this way, and when we use our own money, just have a look at what our return on investment does. It basically halved. It's 14% at the moment. So yes, you can get more money yearly or monthly, but your return on investment is lower. And let's say, for example, you only had 350,000 Rand on your name. Yes, you have a property that generates 50,000 Rand yearly, but how will you be able to buy a second, a third, a fourth, or let's say a 10th property? It's not going to be that easy. What I like to do is to use leverage to buy properties with good return on investments. Although your yearly cash flow is not going to make you rich, but you will be able to scale your portfolio. You will be able to buy a lot more assets than you would if you bought with your own cash. Let's say, for example, you have 320 or 350 or 500,000 Rand saved up during your lifetime, and you want to invest that money. In my opinion, you would be better off saving that money in a high yield savings account, using it as surety for the next property that you want to purchase, and repeating the process of buying property with the bank's money. As long as you have a good return on investment, you should be able to repeat this process. Again, if you haven't watched the previous video, definitely go and check that out because it fits in well with this example. With that said, guys, I really do hope that these videos can educate you in some way. Consider subscribing to the channel, like this video, and share it with your friends. Share it with people that are struggling with their financial position, and maybe you can help them to improve their situation by giving them the right knowledge.